Hey friends, so tomorrow, Monday, August 21st, we have the Total Solar Eclipse in Leo, the great American eclipse that everyone is so excited about. And, here I am recording another video on this. I'm sure people have been inundated with all sorts of facts and tidbits about what this eclipse might mean. But here I'll come and I'll just kind of give my take on it and perhaps how it's relating to me just a little bit. And so it's a solar eclipse, and that means it's a new moon. And with any new moon, solar eclipse, it's more about planting a seed than it is, an immediate profound effect or realization. Not to say that those things might happen, but in general, it's more about, the deeper planting of a seed that will then flourish over a period of time. And typically, with a new moon, that flourishing, that blossoming, that releasing of the message that was imparted at the new moon takes place at the full moon. And so it's very likely that we'll receive some messages regarding what transpired underneath the surface in the darkness, right? New moon, dark moon, at this coming full moon in a couple weeks from the solar eclipse. But it's also said that solar eclipses will reverberate for 1 year per minute of totality. We're talking about a total solar eclipse here. So, roughly 2.5 to 3 minutes, this is going to be total, depending on where you're at. And so the effects of it will be reverberating for that long, for 2.5 to 3 years or so. And so what I'm really encouraging with that is patience. With how much hype there is surrounding this eclipse, it can be very easy for people to, experience it, maybe witness it, and then immediately look for some energetic effect that maybe happened during it. And then, something doesn't happen that day, that night, the next day, whatever the case might be, like, oh, well, I guess this wasn't a big deal. I guess astrology is bogus, this whole energetic stuff regarding it. But what I'm encouraging is a level of patience to see how that might play out for you. A lot of the things that took place will take a little bit of time, and this is especially so with Mercury being retrograde at this time, and also Mercury widely conjunct this eclipse. And so with any Mercury retrograde period, it's very much about taking a step back, going inward, not doing new things, but rather reassessing, our thoughts regarding something, and just, taking an inward time. Perhaps a 3-week long meditation is how I generally like to look at these Mercury retrogrades. And then when Mercury retrograde is approached in that manner, I feel that they can really be used for benefit. A lot of people like to blame Mercury retrograde for things that are going wrong in their life, things that might not have anything to do with what Mercury retrograde might be about. People just instinctively like, oh, something bad happened, Mercury is in retrograde, that's why. But when we really use it as a time to step back and reassess and take our time with when to move forward again, is when they can be used in benefit. And so when we see these two forces combine, this really powerful total solar eclipse that may take a long time to really reveal itself in conjunct with the Mercury retrograde, we really see a pretty deep inward process, a really deep seed planting, that then we can water over the coming weeks, months, years, and see what that might be. And so what is the seed that's being planted at the total solar eclipse? Well, I really feel that it's very much about how we bring ourselves into the world, our deep self that's been cultivated, that's been honed and been you know chipped into being through so many different growth experiences, when we can really embody ourselves through all the trials and tribulations just of life. Now, how can we really bring that into the world and implement it and express that deeper nature in a way that's meaningful, and in a way that's meaningful for us and for the collective. And this deeper element to it is really symbolized, I think, by this Uranus trine. We have Uranus very closely trining this new moon, this eclipse. Um, and Uranus is our higher mind. It's the higher octave of Mercury. It's our mind that can remember everything that's ever happened to us and everything that's ever happened in the world, essentially. If we open ourselves up to that, if we open ourselves up to that field of consciousness and that field of intuition. And it's in a very close harmonizing aspect to this eclipse. And so what I see that is really a deeper part of ourselves, a part of ourselves that can access infinite levels of wisdom and knowledge, wanting to express itself now, planting that seed, so at a future time, at a future point, it can be able to express itself. This is our higher self. And so clearly what I'm saying here is not something that's going to be, it's likely not something that's going to be realized, in a day, in a week. We might get some inklings about it over the next couple weeks as the moon waxes in power to the full moon, but it's really more of a long-term sort of thing that we walk with. And so I'll encourage us at this new moon, at this solar eclipse, to see, okay, what is that seed that's being planted? What is that deeper part of myself that has been brewing, has been incubating for so long, that is ready to move into the expression phase, that is ready to move into the phase of, bringing this into the social realm, bringing this into something that we can offer to the world, that part of ourselves that's been inside and now is coming out. And with Mars very much involved in this eclipse as well, conjunct the North Node, more widely conjunct to the new moon. There might be an instinctive part of us that wants to just get on with it. That might just want to okay, this has been brewing. Okay, now we're going to do this. Now we're going to go out and do that. And maybe and that's certainly a part of it. And so maybe in doing that, we can receive some hints and guidelines as to what this eclipse might mean for us, as to what the seed that's being planted is. We'll instinctively find out what that might be. But over the long term, it's definitely more of a long-term watering process for how that's going to blossom. And one other big aspect here is Chiron quincunx this new moon, this solar eclipse. With any quincunx aspect, we can look at it as an aspect of crisis. We can look at it as, what this is a Virgo aspect. It's a 150-degree aspect. So if we use Aries as the starting point in the natural zodiac, you go 150 degrees and you have Virgo, right? And so there might be a strong element amidst all of this process that we're facing. There might be a strong element of, okay, the mind coming in and saying, okay, I know that you have these things that you want to bring to the world, but it's not ready yet, or you still have more work to do, or even, you're not good enough. Who do you think you are that you can go and offer these gifts to the world that you've been cultivating, or you just need to stay more inward still. You're not ready. This is where we can turn on our instinctive faith in ourselves. We have Jupiter sextiling Mars, sextiling the North Node. Our faith, bring that in and say, no, I know who I am. I know who I am, and I have these wounds, and these wounds have been with me for a long time, but that's fine, because everyone's wounded. Everyone has that wounded part of themselves. But the people who are really, offering their gifts, who are being fulfilled in their lives through truly walking their path and not being too deterred by this mind that tells them they're not good enough or by their wounds, are the people who can have that faith in themselves, sidestep their wounding, and just walk their path. right? And that's really what the chironic wound is about. The chironic wound is the wound that will never heal. It's the wound that will always walk with. The wound that the best we can do is learn to work better with it. The idea that we can heal all of our wounds and just be in an infinite state of bliss and free from any wounding is a fallacy. And so what we need to do is recognize that fallacy, recognize that fantasy, that we can just completely move past everything that's happened to us. And we need to a certain extent, of course, so they're not weighing us down. But ultimately, it's a matter of integrating those disparate part of ourselves, integrating that wounding that maybe we don't want to look at, and just coming back to our innate faith in ourselves and our innate faith, Jupiter and Libra, to bring our creative self-expression, this Leo new moon, into the social sphere, into the relative sphere of Libra, right? And it's a process that we've been working with, and a process that, like I said, we might get some inklings to, but it's really more of a long-term sort of thing. But this really is where we can see that flower beginning to blossom, and I think it's very represented by the Sabian symbol for this eclipse, which is a mermaid emerges from the ocean waves for rebirth into human form. Right? A mermaid emerges from the ocean waves for rebirth into human form. And so what is that other than, you know, a mystical, ethereal, ephemeral part of ourselves, a mermaid, emerging from the ocean depths, emerging from our higher selves, emerging from, our greater intuition, the mind that can remember everything, for rebirth into us, into our human form, to be able to then offer, to be able to then walk with, to be able to then bring into the social sphere, rather than having it be such an inward process, right? Because that inward process can become stagnant after a while, and then we need to bring it out. And I think that that's very much the seed that's being planted deep within us at this eclipse. And so then how to best, work with this eclipse energy, I think to the best of our ability to be able to release, anxieties, release, mental chatter, release any negative energies, and just be as open of a channel as possible during the event, during the eclipse, so that that seed can just effortlessly weave its way through our energetic patterns and plant itself deeply within, so that then it can begin to grow. But yeah, a lot of really potent stuff happening here, with that closing of the eclipse window, with this total solar eclipse. And so I wish you all of the best in that process, in that journey. And if anyone would like any more insight as to how that might manifest specifically for you with your natal chart, and how to best work with these energies and with that being that you're cultivating, that you're bringing out into the world, then it would be my highest honor to work with you in that way. And so you can visit my website, robpaulastrology.com, to set that up. And if you like the video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Blessings. Namaste.